Jess hasn't called me yet, but I was just setting up for our last podcast and I got kind of sad. Just waiting for her to call me. Oh, Jess, I'm going to miss you.
What? I'm going to miss you too.
I mean, I understand you're not going anywhere and we're still going to be friends forever, best friends forever, but it's just I'm going to miss this.
To be honest, I've gotten a lot of applications for best friends. I'm going through the first round of selection right now.
I'm not even worried. You know what? Even if you do, I'll win. I'll get it. All I have to say is Lisa Vora.
I'm just kidding, of course.
Oh, was that a joke?
Of course it was. I'm not accepting applications for anything. I have enough jobs and I'm trying to make more time in my life, not less.
I hear you. I I think I might have said this in one of our podcasts. Like, I don't even take in any new friends unless it's like really worth it. They have to really be worth like my extra time and money. And calories, because you always have to go out and eat with them.
I know you didn't mean it this way, but as you said that, I imagine like an intake process where you're like getting people's fingerprints and then you're like, empty out your pockets. Let me see what's in your purse.
Oh, and you know what's a complete, like they're out, like a complete reject is if their birthday's in December. Because I don't want any more December birthdays. That's just too much. Sorry, I know you're December.
That's hilarious.
But you will never be kicked to the curb. But, most December birthdays. It's just Christmas and this and that. So you have to be really special to be a December birthday and my friend. Congratulations, Jess.
You're so funny. How do you figure that out? How do you bring that up? You're like, so what's your sign? If they say Sagittarius or Capricorn, you're like, yeah, sorry. There's no room for you right now.
Okay, so 2 awkward questions right now. 1, what's your sign? And 2, have you gotten tested?
Yeah. Any other time in life, have you gotten tested would mean something completely different. But these days, I actually want to know people's test results.
No, you're right. 2020, we know what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. I had someone earlier today say to me, like, 2020 just makes me sick. And I was like, literally, like a lot of people all around the world could agree with you. I'm ready to skip forward until 2021. I just think we need a new vibe.
Yeah, definitely. And things are getting worse again. So even though like Alice County has announced that she's going to go back first graders like in 2 weeks for 2 days a week, I think they're about to reverse that. And at this point, I don't even know what I want anymore because over the summer and early fall, things were so much better. They should have just had the 2 days a week and now gone back to online and they're doing the reverse. It's kind of dumb.
It's kind of that reminder, though, too, that just in general, most systems aren't created to move quickly. And I feel the same way. I traveled back home in October, the first week of October, when the cases were really low here and the cases were low there, because I didn't think I'd be able to see my parents again for a few months. And it's showing, it's turning out to be true now if we look at the cases. And I had someone in Florida say this to me. I just thought it was such a clever saying. She was like, I feel like we're living on borrowed time when her daughter went back to school. And guess what? Last week, her daughter returned back home again.
Of course. And again, like I said, I don't even know if I want it anymore. But I'm glad that you saw your parents. That was really smart. Like, I feel like I'm in the same boat right now because we've been quarantining for like almost 2 weeks now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm going to take a test tomorrow because we want to not just see my parents because we've seen them like social distance and stuff. But I haven't hugged or like really been with my parents in like 7-8 months, which I know is so many people have the same story. So what we're doing is we've been quarantining for 2 weeks, taking a test so that my mom can come to our house for her 70th birthday and stay here for a week.
Oh, that's nice.
So I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I feel like our timing is so good because I actually told Samir, I was like, if something happened in another shutdown, then we're keeping my parents in our bubble now because we've quarantined,
Right.
So,
yeah, I think that's really nice that you'll be able to see them. I think that's a nice way of adapting to the new ways of working and living and being as a family is to take steps like that. One of the things that I have really enjoyed is being very purposeful about who we're going to meet and how we're going to meet them. We never did that before. We're just like show up at places that are really crowded and think about how many times you've been to a playground and just let your kid play at a playground with a bunch of random strangers. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Couldn't even think about doing that right now.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, a year ago, we were planning my mom's. We started talking about my mom's 70th birthday. We're like, okay, party. Do you want a vacation? My mom's like, oh, vacation. She's not a party person.
Right.
So we're like, cool, we'll do that. Now we can't do either at this point. It'll be like rain check for my mom, the vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So I just never would have thought that the gift would be just to be together and, I don't know, hug my mom.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I know it was weird for me too. I went home and we obviously flew to get there, and the flight that we were on was pretty empty, so that was nice. And we wore a mask the whole time, and we wore face shields. But once we got there, I was still nervous about just being close to my parents, and what if I'd pick something up along the way. We have not only did we quarantine the 2 weeks before, but by and large we've been quarantined the entire time. We really haven't had much interaction with others. So we were there, we were home, and we were outside as much as possible. My parents have a great deck and a great patio, and the weather was really nice. And then even when we did move inside, we opened the windows so we could have as much fresh air as possible.
yeah.
But the strangest thing to me, especially when it was time to leave, was like I didn't hug my parents the entire time. Like, that's so weird.
Oh, so when you saw them, it was all social distance. I didn't realize you were doing that.
Yeah, I still distance. I mean, we were staying in the same house. And so we were technically close, but we had the windows open at night and we closed our doors. And so we really tried to make the most effort to not put anyone at risk. And saying bye to my parents, which I've done 1,000 times, right? I've lived away from them for like 20 years now. But saying bye to them and like waving is not enough. Like, it doesn't, I was like, can we hug? Like, can we both put our masks on and hug?
No, it's hard. I mean, you live away from them.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? Because you were just trying to do with them what I still get, which is social distance meeting. I just wanted to take it to the next level,
Right.
being able to hug.
Yeah, it was hard. And so I think that part was hard.
Oh, but that must have been so hard to say. Yeah, that must have been so hard to say bye and not hug. That's just hard.
Yeah, my dad's face when we were leaving, he looked so sad because I had the younger 2 kids with me. And of course, he just wanted to hug them. And he's looking at them like, you guys are so tall. He hadn't seen them in a year. And so even though they talk on FaceTime every single day, when you're in close proximity, then you really feel it. And it kind of made me sad, of course. It kind of also made me angry about how we've mishandled this pandemic, for so long.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it didn't have to be this way, but maybe it had to be this way in a way, if that makes sense.
It did not have to be this way. We know that. I mean, not getting too political, but really, like, everyone, every second, doctors are saying just if 95% of people had just worn masks or do wear masks moving forward, this thing can be gone in a few months. It'll be much sooner than the vaccine.
And I don't know that science is political anyway.
When did that happen, right?
We know, but we don't really know. I mean, it's a bigger conversation.
All right, we're not going to do politics on our last podcast, but it's hard not to either.
Yeah, so we didn't even mention that. It's our last podcast.
I know. We decided because, well, Joss, I'll let you take the mic.
Well, I don't think it's any one thing, but I think if anything, 2020 has definitely shown us that it's a time to start things and then there's a time to stop and let go of things. And for us, and we've been talking about this a lot, creating space for us to have enough time and attention for our family and all of the things that we're doing in the community and with work. And I just feel like one of the things that we had to give up on was the podcast, which kind of felt like, okay.
Yeah, it seems right. And our time was divided or has been divided between the podcast and our kids, and none of them are getting what it deserves. You and I are both, our kids
totally.
are always number one. And the moment it started feeling like it's not happening because time is so precious with our children home all day, and you can tell that it's having a negative impact on them, all the extra time you're spending on the podcast, then you realize it's the right thing to do at this time. And it's just putting our children first, as much as I'm going to miss doing this.
Aw, you made it sound so wonderful. That's great. I felt so guilty.
Alyssa, she needs more attention right now in first grade. It's been kind of, hard to juggle
Totally.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous amount of online screen time. And I've been very vocal about how she's not going to do anything in the afternoon. Lots of teachers email me and I'm like, I don't care. I don't say I don't care. I'm more articulate
Sure.
about that, but I'm basically not going to do that. We can't undo this time. I'm going off topic, but the one thing about our county is that even the time they're not online, they get assignments online. And I'm like, when are they off the computer?
Yeah.
So, and I've been printing stuff out. I told the teacher, she goes, that's fine. So I print it out for her. And then, some of these programs, they give you like that instant hit. I'm going to go back to a word I love, the dopamine hit. Like if Allie gets a problem right, ding. If she gets it wrong, oh, too slow. And I'm like, you're already setting her up a social media or like an addiction to like validation online.
Right.
So I'm like, we're not doing that. Allie's like, but I love that, but I love it. I was like, I know you do, but we're not doing that. And I'm like, here are some flashcards. We're going to do math flashcards. Because you cannot undo that. But her learning basic math and basic reading and writing, that's not that hard. We were talking about it earlier. First grade in that sense is easy where we are.
Yes, definitely.
But all that, it sucks into your time. And you realize we're not just moms in a modern world, but we're moms in a pandemic
That's
world.
right. That's right. And I love the couple things that you said that I could really relate to, which is we have our kids home. And I read recently that only 30% of jobs allow at this point in the pandemic for people to continue to work at home. So that means like we're in the minority, right? We're able to be home and we have our kids home.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize it was that. I thought most people were still working from home. This is me being in my bubble. But yeah, I guess I was.
That's right. So we forget about that. And then the other thing is that if I really break down my day, I have a full-time job. I don't work part-time hours. And I know that your hours are a little different. Like you're able to spread them out a little bit differently because it's a little flexible. For me, I have that like 9 to 5 type of framework where people are reaching out to me. I have meetings. There's an expectation that I'm going to be engaged with my camera on. The camera is like, we're becoming so dependent on it.
You're more connected to people.
That's right.
I have more of an independent job. Just get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when I think about my day and the fact that I have to have my camera on and there's a little bit of a performance nature to that, right? And you have to be engaged. You can't multitask as much. When I think about the fact that I'm home with my kids X number of hours, but the time that I actually see them and have quality time with them is limited to lunchtime. Because I get up, I get ready, I start my day, and then I go and wake them up at 8 so they can be online by 8:40. And then at 12, I take 12 to 1 off every day for lunch so I can make a fresh lunch with them. Or, we might have leftovers, but I will help get them together. And then the kids have 3 different lunch breaks, but they all start sometime between 12 and 1. So I get to see them. And during that time, it's just too rushed. Like it takes time for kids even just to decompress, right? And then it's like the break's over and you have to go back online. And it makes you think like by the end of the day, and now with daylight savings time, which separate rant, I am not a fan of this whole like switching the time zone and all this nonsense because it gets dark so soon. And that's my outdoor time, to like get them out and get them moving.
Yeah, this is not the right time. The only good in this is that Allie actually slept like the first 5-6 days. She slept like before her bedtime. but then the day
because she was on the old time
zone
zone.
For like 5-6 days. But then she gets used to it, and we're back to square one.
It's almost like Allie and Bailey, our puppy, are on the same time zone because she was looking at us like, why aren't you feeding me right now? And I was like, sorry, daylight savings time has ended and we're now in Central Standard Time. And she didn't like that answer.
Yeah, the dogs don't get the memo. Butters has the same thing. She's been waking Samir up at like 4:30 in the morning to go for walks because he usually walks her at 5:30. We're like, Butters. And, she's old. She just turned 15. So, but
yeah.
And he wakes up at 4:30. I'm like, that's your problem. I don't wake up anyway.
Like many of us, she's not ready for that kind of change.
No.
So, but I was thinking about it, and I love the way that you frame that. Like sometimes you have to know when it's the right time, because I think that's like a great symbol of the parenting style that we have too.
What the show's been about, right from the beginning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Adapting, and it is I think at this point, if we continue, we're like now, like I'm not gonna say the word fraud, but like we're inconsistent with our motto, which is us connecting and being a mom. We're not able to be the kind of moms that we want to be because we don't have as much time. So
yeah, no, I like that. Oh, that sounds very noble. I just want more time to sleep. I'm just kidding.
I know, right? How long have we been doing this? 4 years?
It's been 3 years, I think. And okay, so it's been 3 years,
Yeah.
60 episodes.
Yeah. Yay, claps.
We've had so many special guests. It's been amazing. I've completely loved it. And it's not like we're saying we will never do anything like this again. I think probably the future will hold something exciting for us.
Oh, definitely.
But it's been amazing. I totally love it.
It's been awesome. And you're the one who got me, because of you, we did this podcast because of you. And I'm so thankful because I think, I don't want to get too emotional, but I think you've really made me, because of this podcast and talking to you. Number one, I'm talking a lot more to you. And I don't want that to change, Just, okay? So, but talking to you weekly.
We'll keep that up. We'll continue to have our scheduled meeting
Yes.
times. Just we won't record them anymore.
Yes. We've been friends for 25 years almost? Or has it been more than that? 96. I can't just, yeah. So the math right now, but because I want to say something. But we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
That part I'm never even worried about. We will always be best friends. But the last 3 years, I feel like I am a lot more confident in what I believe in. And I think a lot of it is because I've been doing this podcast. And I just wanted to thank you for that. I'm being emotional, but I really feel like I heard my voice. Like, I've always had a voice. And, of course, as you get older, you're more confident. But listening to how I see things every 2-3 weeks made me actually believe more in I'm pretty awesome. I know this sounds so stupid because I'm not trying to say I'm awesome.
No, it doesn't. No, not at all. That's awesome.
I've always had a lot of self-doubt, and I'm working on that. And, I'm trying to make it more self-compassion. But I think that's really helped me.
No, I love that.
For sure. I think the last 3 years, I feel a lot more confident than I ever have in just sharing my opinions and not doubting what I believe. And a lot of it, I'm.
Wait a minute. Are you getting that subwoofer feeling we talked about in a previous
yes,
podcast?
The connections, that centered feeling. Yes.
Yeah, totally. No, I don't think that's. First of all, don't be silly. I love that, and I think you're totally right. Listening to your own voice, like literally listening to your own voice on a podcast, whether you're editing it or you're coming back and listening to the final production, one, it allows you to reflect.
Yes.
Right? Like, and say, hey, that's what I thought 2 years ago. Do I really think that now?
Yeah.
And I love it when people listen to some of our podcast episodes that have passed, like some time has passed, and they say, oh, in this one, you were talking about potty training, and I'm going through it. So I was listening to your episode and I thought about this. And sometimes I'm like, oh, you know what? Some of our perspectives might change over time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And we can articulate that. But this has become a platform for us to have the conversation and even voice what our opinion is, which we don't get a chance to do that very much.
No, we don't. That's what I'm going to really miss. And you're right. We could listen to episode 3, 4, 7, 10, 25. And I'd be like, I don't think this anymore. And I would never go back and say, oh my God, I got to delete this. I'm like, that's you. Like you just said, you see your own evolution too.
Right.
And that's part of opinions. Like, they will change as you get older. They have to. Otherwise, how are you going to grow? You have to start to see other sides.
Yeah. They'll change when you discover something new about your child. They'll change from child to child.
Yeah.
They'll change from season to season. And they'll also change when you're going through a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. You know the biggest gift this podcast is? You know who it's for?
Our kids?
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't have normally said that. I would have said myself, but I know you well enough to know that I can guess some of the Lisa answers. I'm like, what does Lisa want me to say?
No, but I'm thinking about Allie listening to this. Not now, because she does not have the attention span. But when she's 20, 25, I may not even tell her about this because she's so much younger. Your kids know about the podcast and they've been listening. But with Allie,
right,
it could actually be a great little gift to give her when she turns, 15, when I think she's ready. I'm like, here are 60 episodes of where your mom was with just Jussie Massey. Well, I don't know if she'll say Jussie anymore at 15, but Juspreet Massey.
We can just hope.
But with Juspreet Massey, what we talked about, and I think it's the coolest thing. Can you imagine if your mom said, I talked to someone for an hour every 2 weeks for 3 years about little anecdotes about you growing up? What a gift that would be to listen to.
Yes, that would be amazing. Just to hear what they were going through and what they were thinking. I feel like it gives you so much more insight into your life, into their life. And we talked about this when we talked to our own mothers. it helps me to cultivate that compassion and that empathy for what they were going towards.
That was one of my favorite episodes. Yeah.
Okay, so what was your favorite episode? I was going to put you on the spot.
Okay, my favorite episode, like I haven't been thinking about it, is by far the connections. And I know we've done so many, but because I believe so much in human connections and friendships. And I think that if we had more of those, or if individual people had more of these connections, we'd be living in a much better world, including that and sleep. But yeah, so the one about connections, when we talked about subwoofers.
Yes, I love that one too. That's really awesome. That's one of my favorites.
I love that one because this whole podcast is about us and our connection, and
right. Yeah,
how,
and fostering that and growing that, and all the connections we've made as a result of the podcast too. People reaching out to us that maybe we already know, or that we are meeting for the first time, and kind of strengthening and deepening that. That's one of my favorite ones. I really like the one with our parents on it as well, just listening to our moms and what they went through. And, there's been so much reflection in the last couple weeks as we were going through the pre and post election and talking about who saved the country and how Black women really showed up, and how Indigenous people and Latinx voters showed up in some places that were unexpected from a pollster perspective, like what the pollsters expected, it was different. And you think about how long women have had the right to vote, and even looking at our own parents, like, we're so lucky that
it's not that long when you look back at history. It's not that long.
It's not. It really isn't. And who laid the groundwork for our parents as immigrants to come here and pave the way for us so that you and I could go to college and get a great education, and then one day share our voices and our ideas on a podcast? It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty, yes. And we're going to have an archive of this, everything. So
yeah,
I like that. And of course I like sleep, just because we talked about a subject so close to my heart. Allie's so tired of it. Okay, I understand. I didn't sleep well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that.
Oh my God, I got her this meditation CD for kids. It's been awesome. She loves it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, meditation for children.
That's awesome.
To be honest with you, it's a lot better than any of the adult ones. I always, because I'm next to her sometimes, and I'll fall asleep. It's just so...
Oh, I love that. That's so great.
I will send it to you. A British woman just saying, you're going on a magical ride, and just imagine your bed leaves your house and you're flying up, and it's just like, so Allie's like, I can't wait till my adventure tonight. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, please send that to me. I need that with my kids. I've been really concerned about the blue light lately. The first couple months I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I didn't even get like the blue light glasses or anything until this past weekend, because I noticed that my children, one, they were staying up later, which I'm okay with, like they're getting older and you don't have to have that strict bedtime. I used to be so strict with them previously.
Yeah. You know them, and they know their work. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But then I think that I noticed about a week and a half ago that they were having trouble falling asleep. And I was like, the blue light does affect you, and we don't realize how long it takes for them to fall asleep. And I thought physical activity would offset it, and it's not enough. Because you have that many hours of screen time, it's like undoing all of the goodness of early morning or midday activity. And so I started meditation and some yoga poses with them to help
that's awesome.
Reduce anxiety as well, and just help them get into the mode to go to bed. They don't like doing it, but they reluctantly do it.
No, that's the reason I actually got this CD. I noticed she wasn't sleeping. She was sleeping later and later every night. And I know exactly it's because she's on screen. Even though she's a lot less than other kids, she's still on screen. She's still online a lot more than she ever was. But that's exactly the reason we did it, because we are losing sleep, because all of us are. I don't know. I feel like I'm constantly staring at a screen all day, because after Allie's done, I have to finish up work. It doesn't end.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the same is true for me too. And I tried like 2 weeks ago. I told one of my colleagues, I was like, if we're just going to be talking and having like a one-on-one meeting for 25 minutes where we're just talking and I don't need my computer, do you mind if I go for a walk? And he's a pretty good friend of mine. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. That's a great idea. And I did it that day. And afterwards, I felt so great. It was 2 PM. I got some sun.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I'm going to do this every time we meet. We meet every week.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Never was able to do it again because inevitably it's like, oh, let's multitask. Let's update the spreadsheet, or let's, make a list of these things. And so it's not even about my commitment, because it really depends on what others need from me too.
Yeah.
And so I feel it affecting me. I can only imagine how it affects our kids.
And also what they value. Because if they valued it, you might get a little bit more. You are more likely to do it together. So.
That's right. Yeah. That's what I should have done. I should have told him, like, put on your walking shoes and walk also.
Yeah, whatever. Motivation definitely motivation for sure. So
yeah.
That's one thing that's the funniest in this whole online school thing is they have like classes once a week or something for specials, like a little bit of like calm mindfulness and some sort of meditation, which is fine, except it's online.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not.
Sorry, why am I laughing? That's terrible.
But yes, I understand that maybe like they think, okay, and I understand. I can see why they're like, oh, that'll really help the kids. But I'm thinking, why not let them just not be online for those 30 minutes and just like go outside and run, right? I mean, just
right.
We do afternoon meditations and stuff just because we need it. I need it. Allie actually told me today that I'm not a calm mom, so I definitely still need it. She's like, no, you're not calm, but it's okay. Because you're funny. She so far thinks I'm funny. I'm sure that'll go away as she gets older.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. We were joking this morning about who's funnier, mommy or daddy. And she's like, you, don't tell daddy. But I just told the world.
That's so funny. Isn't it funny how like kids know what society expects from them?
Yeah.
At such an early age. Like I was, I had social distance coffee with a friend of mine this morning.
Yeah.
And somehow we got on the topic of being left-handed. And I said, he asked me, he said, oh, do you write with your left hand? And I said, no, I only write with my right hand. I do everything else with my left hand. And he was like, oh, how did they get you to switch hands? And I told him, oh, I was in first grade and they tied my hand behind my back. And he was like, oh, and I was like, oh yeah. And I said, it's really funny how quickly you learn what society expects of you, because I would always use my right hand when I wrote at school, because they wanted me to use my right hand. The teacher, I still remember vividly, told my mom her life, Juspreet's life, will be easier if she's right-handed. And I'm sure she really believed it. She was a really nice lady. And when I was home and no one was with me at the kitchen table where I did my homework, I would switch to my left hand, do all my homework. And then when my mom or dad came in the room, I'd switch back to my right hand and say, like, I'm almost done with my homework.
I had no idea that you were forced into being a right-handed. I had no idea. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought,
you learn something new every day. Wow.
Yeah, totally. And I was in first grade. So I was Allie's age. And so I must have been like 6. And I remember knowing that, people, I don't know who the people were, teachers, principal, whoever, others would be disappointed if I didn't stick with the right-handedness. And it's funny because...
And you wanted to please, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's just, that was like a funny thing.
Can you write with your left hand now or no? It's pretty much...
I can write a little bit, but my handwriting's not so great. And it's funny because I have, for being a fake right-handed person, a learned right-handed person, I have pretty good handwriting, I think.
Yeah, you have great handwriting.
But I do so many things with my left.
You know my handwriting.
Yes. Your handwriting shows what a great producer you are.
Well, Allie's the same way. She's got the worst handwriting. She has absolutely no artistic ability, but she likes videos and direction and writing scripts. So, and when I say writing scripts, I mean, she'll try to write them, but she'll basically dictate it to me and I'll type it. But nonetheless, it's in her head. But no writing skills whatsoever. I bet you your left, anything you do, left or right, is better than my right, which is my natural hand, and it still sucks. So.
Well, next time someone says something about your handwriting, just say, there are some kids that were forced to switch hands when they were in first grade.
I will. I'm going to mention your story. That's exactly
just
what I'm going
that.
to. Yes, I will.
They'll be like, oh, did that happen to you? I'll be like, no, that didn't happen to me.
But it happened to someone I know.
but it did happen. And in solidarity, I refuse to have great handwriting.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
what
reason.
you should say.
Because my bad handwriting started the day I met Juspreet.
Remember in July of 1996 when we discovered that you had really, like, your penmanship wasn't the greatest, I'll say that. We thought it would be great for code languages because others wouldn't be able to read the notes that you left for me.
Do you guys remember reading my diary, like from like 7th grade, you and Buttum? And
Yeah.
I used to sign my diaries by, but you guys decided it says Lopez.
Yes.
And you started calling me Lisa Lopez.
You used to close your entries with Lopez, which was really just a messy cursive BYE, I guess, right? That's what you're saying.
But it became a thing. You called me Lisa Lopez for the longest time. And there was another inside joke. You had a dog, Becky, and whenever I wrote, you'd be like, is this Becky? Did Becky write this?
Hey, my dog had really great handwriting. Okay, that's a compliment.
All right, it's a high bar.
Yeah, it was a high bar. No, totally. You know, another podcast I really liked was the 3-part series we did on marriage and partnership.
That was a really good one. Oh, I'll look forward to listening to that again. I will go through withdrawals pretty soon and start listening to these podcasts.
Yeah. And something we can do maybe in the new year when we have time is we'll shift a lot of the podcasts over, the old episodes over to YouTube. You had that brilliant idea, and I love that. And we can send out an update. When I was telling the kids, so last night I told them, I was like, hey, I'm going to record my last podcast episode tomorrow. They were kind of sad, and they were like, oh no, that's kind of sad. And I said, no, it's not sad. It's going to open the door for something new, something else good to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking so much about community involvement and what the community needs to heal. And so much that we've learned in 2020, whether it's like from Black Lives Matter, that movement, or from the voter suppression discussion, just talking about access to education. I just feel like there's so much, once the pandemic's under control and we're able to resume some sense of normalcy, there's so much more that we can do to help and make the world a better place.
Definitely 100%. And I want to do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll be able to do things with our kids too, which is really exciting. So I had mentioned to them, I was like, but the episodes will still be out there. And so for our listeners, all of our episodes will still be available on Spotify or on Stitcher, on the podcast app, and on TuneIn FM, and on Google. And then once we're ready to transition to YouTube, we'll definitely share an update and let everyone know about that as well. And that would be nice for our kids too, to be able to go back and listen to some of the episodes and hear our voice in a literal way.
Yeah, definitely. We can put up on YouTube with your awesome cover art that you did, which you never get enough credit for, but you do an awesome job. You've been doing an awesome job.
Aw, thank you.
So, and the blurb.
Thanks.
Somehow you managed to tie in 500 subjects into one theme, which you'll do for this one somehow.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And then something you and I can do is as time goes forward, and we've had some great feedback from listeners, is from time to time we could maybe come up with some topics that we want to share a point of view on, and maybe just do like a one-off.
Definitely.
Either a podcast or a video or get our kids together. I think that would be really awesome.
I'm down, definitely.
All right, awesome. So I was looking back at all of our episodes, 59 episodes, Lisa.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's quite an accomplishment.
And I was thinking about, yeah, it's so great. And I was thinking about all the great subjects and all of the guest speakers we had that joined us. People like Rena, who told her story about IVF. We had Dennis, who was the veteran dad. I loved his story. He had a baby when he was a baby. And then how he like grew into that. I just absolutely love that. We had both of our moms on. We had our parents' perspective. That was super cool. We had our sound engineer, Dave Brown, on. And I loved his perspective on like how we get music into our kids' lives. And then you had that wonderful conversation with Dia.
Yeah.
And how,
yes.
Yes.
And who is doing really,
love
really
that.
well. She's like over a year and completely healthy. So.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Positivity for her and just her positive outlook on life. Like that was super humbling. And I think about her story often when I feel overwhelmed with the little things in my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, she is a superhero. What did you call her?
She's instant perspective for me. Anything that ever happens to me,
Yeah.
she's instant perspective always. She's like the most inspiring
Yes.
person I know. So
She is amazing. And then me and Rena talked again about racial disparity
Yeah.
and how the way that stereotypes really affect. And I feel like that was like the perfect foreshadowing last year about all the things that came
yeah.
to the agenda and came to the forefront in 2020.
No, you're right. You guys definitely. That's something even I remember thinking we're all guilty of it. Like how many times have we all do it, and it just becomes part of the norm, and we don't think about how much it affects someone and how it affects the way we
Yes.
or society views that person. So, and that's something I started thinking about this year more.
Yeah, definitely. That's like maybe as Budham had once said, that's the shining light of 2020 is how much we noticed how other people are affected
Yeah.
by the systems that already exist.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And then on a more of a fun note, we had Caroline Ramsey on, who helps with the Enneagram types, which totally changed my
That
life.
was a fun
I'm
one.
always like trying to figure out people's types now when I meet them.
You thought you had me all figured out too. I think you texted me, and I was like, "Nope."
I know. I
I don't
learned so
remember
much
the
about you.
numbers.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember I thought you were a 3 and you turned out to be a 2, just like my husband. I should not have been surprised because you guys are so similar.
Yeah, you find one nice sweater, you buy in every color. That's our temperament.
Yes, exactly. But I love that. And I continue to use that Enneagram to help me understand a little bit of perspective on how others might want to be treated and how they see the world. So even though hers was like a lighthearted intro into it, it's definitely changed my life. And then maybe one of my favorite episodes from this year, from 2020, was the one where Amin Batra was on. She was the poet, the open mic poet, and she just completely blew me away with her perspective and how she's just so eloquently able to summarize her story and use her voice.
And Melissa, your friend that you reconnected with. And I got a chance to meet her because you guys did the podcast here when you visited last year.
That's right. Yeah. I loved the episode with Melissa, and she's another example of how sometimes really simple things can be complicated for some families and how we have to keep that in mind, because she's just got such a fantastic attitude, such a great parent, and a great person / ally / superhero woman to have in your life. But she's always come in with that different perspective, and I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But nothing compares to having you as my co-host. So thank you so much for that. It's been a ride.
I was just your guest. I just happened to linger on, and I never left the party.
No, you're the creative vision behind all of this. So it's been amazing.
But honestly, the best thing about this podcast, Just, you.
Aw, that's so sweet.
The constant and the one who was you always made sure that we have a topic, we're going to cover it. And sometimes I can get lazy. You're like, hey, you see what happened in the world? Anything. You'll text me, can you read this? I'm like, I guess. But then I would get into it, and I'd be so glad that you I'm going to say made me do it, like, because it was a good thing in the end. So you were like a parent to me. All right.
I was like the disciplinarian. Is that what you're saying? The routine? What? I'm like, hey, Lisa, you need to read this research and then formulate an opinion and tell me what your perspective is.
Yeah, can't we just talk about like kids in puddles today?
That's so funny. And we did that sometimes too.
We did. We had a good mix.
No, that's so sweet. Thanks for saying that. And one of the things I loved about getting together with you is that you always bring a different perspective, just like so many of our guests did. And that's like the beauty of trying to raise a family and like just be, is listening to other perspectives.
Yeah, you made me rethink so many things, and I'm just proud that I have a friendship like that in my life where you can tell me something and I can actually say, you know what, she makes a good point. We're not like, oh, I hate you, how dare you,
or why didn't you just agree with me and make me feel good?
And I have to say one last thing, I love you, you're awesome. And not like this is the end or anything, but just that I love you. And I'm so glad that we're friends and you're my best friend. And yeah, it's all about relationships. And I feel fortunate to have such an amazing connection for like over 25 years.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And I love you too. This has been so wonderful. And like you said, it's not like we're going away. Our relationship has always kind of changed form. And I'm excited about what comes next. And to our listeners, thank you so much for your support. We've loved all of the feedback that we've gotten, all of the love that you've sent us on social media, in person, your DMs, your emails. It's been wonderful. I have been amazed that we've had over 10,000 downloads of our podcast over the last 3 years. That's like a really great milestone and a huge accomplishment. So thank you. Thank you. Our podcast will still be out there. And when we transition to YouTube, we will definitely share that on social media as well. And as always, thanks for listening.